Well, to be candid, I've been trying as much as possible to stay away from this Barcelona conversation because, I mean, in the build up to this season, quite they pulled some couple of economic levers up until I think the sixth economic lever that they pulled, which included selling of their TV rights for the next 25 years, unctioning of their Barca studio. I mean, coming out to more like, well, let's just leave that part of the economic levers. Like I said, desperate times actually require, or you have to use desperate measures to counter desperate times. And at that point in time, Barca was at a desperate time. They could have, decided to say, okay, we are not the big boy anymore. Let us just, start from the scratch once again, build up from the ranks, and probably in the next 5-6 years, we'll be up there with the big boys, and we'll be chilling with the big boys once again. But, they could also have decided to say, okay, let us take these drastic steps. And if those drastic steps had worked out, in fact, if you look at the timetable that they set for themselves, they were targeting the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which is not too big of a dream for a Barcelona side, even with that squad that they actually have. So people have been saying they sold their future and everything. Yeah, I don't disagree with people actually, but I don't totally agree, or let me say I'm very, very indifferent. Now, if you go back to Barcelona's troubles, I'm sitting on the fence, so to say. If you go back to, it started back in, 2010 when Sandro Rosell was actually the president, and Bartomeu, who was the former Barcelona president, was not a football person initially. When I was reading his biography, or should I say autobiography right now, he was not even interested in football. At some point in time, he was a basketball player to start with. At some point in time, he played for Barcelona basketball, team in Spain before he couldn't even make it as a basketballer. Played for some couple of other clubs around Spain before he went, went to university, came out and decided to go into real estate, and boom, he, at some point in time, he found himself being pally with Sandro Rosell, who happened to be the president back then, 2010, so to say, and Sandro Rosell brought him on board as the vice president. But to cut the long story short, the troubles to a very large extent started with, Sandro Rosell, the Neymar deal. And of course, the Neymar deal, everybody was saying, fraud was involved, some things that happened shouldn't have happened, blah, blah. The controversies were too much. Sandro Rosell actually stepped down. And I think the next election, Bartomeu contested to be the president and the chairman of Barcelona. He did win. To just cut the long story short, at the end of the day, due to finding Barcelona guilty of what happened when they were trying to bring Neymar on board, they decided to, if you remember back then, I think it was in 2014-2015 season, they gave them a 3 transfer window ban. Before that particular transfer window, Bartomeu, before they served that window ban, decided to splash the cash and decided to bring the likes of Luis Suarez, brought I think Ivan Rakitic also with the core. That was what formed the MSN back then, Messi, Suarez, Neymar. And take it or leave it, with Luis Enrique, it's worked magic. They won treble, they won back-to-back, La Liga, and of course they were very, very successful in the Champions League. Then fast forward to them serving the transfer ban and everything. At the end of the day, when they served the transfer ban and they were now eligible to sign players once more, I think the fact that we bought players for heavy sums in the past got into Bartomeu's head, and they decided to splash the cash once again, bringing the likes of Polio from China, bringing the likes of Ousmane Dembele for highly exorbitant fee. That's what I fought him for, to be candid. Unfortunately, Coutinho let them down. Ousmane Dembele is an injury-prone player. Played 3 months, go injured for 6 months. So at the end of the day, Bartomeu, that was his downfall. Joan Laporta came on board. You won't blame Joan Laporta also. He has come on board in the past, improved the La Masia, and under Pep Guardiola, we saw what happened. So, like I said, I'm still very, very indifferent, and I'm waiting for probably this to crash or to be successful. Now, talking about Barcelona's woes, I'm just trying to cut the long story short here. You see it coming. If you look at the Champions League right now, 4 England teams have made it to the next stages. 1 Spanish team in Real Madrid only in the next stages. I mean, even Portugal has 3 teams. Germany has, the last time I checked, I think about 2 teams. And France also, I think France has one, I'm not, or two, I'm not very sure. Maybe PSG and Marseille. So what I'm trying to say right now is that it's a long time coming. I mean, we've been seeing the cracks on the wall when it comes to the Spanish teams, really. And recently, Villarreal, for all they did in the Champions League last season, getting into the semi-finals, Aston Villa just came and pew,
snatched their money.
And their coach went running. Now they signed Kiki Setien. What will a Kiki Setien? So the money that is being brandished around, and something is even happening in Spanish football right now. Florentino Perez, wanting the European Super League, and Javier Tebas in Spain. They are lobbying politicians because politicians actually passed the law that will favor Real Madrid and the likes of Barcelona to join the European Super League. And Javier Tebas, and some couple of other people in charge of Spanish football are also lobbying politicians that they should pass this law. Florentino Perez, a very powerful person in Spanish football, also is lobbying on his own part. So there's this clash, of personalities and everything. Clash of interest, and unfortunately, it's really affecting Spanish football right now. Well, Barcelona, we started with them. It's a reality check for them. You're not a big boy, take it or leave it. And at the end of the day, I'm pitying that club right now because they still owe about 108 million euros from the payment of Coutinho. I mean, Coutinho, when they don't sign, they never pay finish. I drink Neto and, of course, Pjanic. I don't pity them, actually. They dug, this particular pit for themselves. But I'm just pitying the fans who, to a very large extent, don't even know when Sandro Rosell and Bartomeu and the likes of Joan Laporta were actually taking this decision that is actually affecting them. But talking about Xavi, I think he's not the best man for the job also.
Perhaps if they win the Europa League, maybe they can just find their path back to redemption.
Well, getting into the quarterfinals of the Champions League will actually afford them the opportunity of getting about 80 million euro, and that is one of the things that they are banking on. They are actually projecting that they will, see a surplus, in terms of budgeting, they would gain come next season. But the sporting director, what's his name, came out some couple of weeks ago to say not qualifying for the next, not going to European Champions League last season actually cost them about 12 million, euros actually. So going to the Europa League this time around is also going to be a loss for them. And with Europa League comes extra, should I say, stress, because the approximate location they will have to travel if they were in the Champions League. I mean, Belgium, Spain. You look at the countries in the Champions League right now. The proximity. Belgium, Spain, England, Spain, France. I mean, the man that traveled from London to Lagos via bike, we saw he did it. Passed through Spain, France, and the likes to connect. But this time around, you might have to travel to the likes of Apuebo Sheba. You might have to happen to you would have to travel from one part of the world to another part of the world, and that's incurring extra in terms of transportation. So I think the people that set the target of Champions League quarter-final knew what they were doing. And talking about how much they will from Europa, I doubt it. Even if they win the Europa, I don't think it will still be able to balance the books in their own calculations.
So meaning that going back to dropping to Europa League is another crisis for them. That's maybe perhaps financial crisis will also come in for there, and it will be difficult to get out of the woods.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very difficult. I mean, Joan Laporta still has some couple of economic levers that he's actually going to pull, and I'm looking forward to the levers that he will pull right now. I think their cryptocurrency or NFT something, I'm not sure if it has launched already, but I'm sure, I think that is one of the things that they are banking on. They've also sort of dissolved, when it comes to ownership in Barcelona, how people can come on to become much more members. They are open to raise money from that also. Well, the thing is, looking at what they have in their hands for the next couple of years. I mean, they are looking at expanding the Camp Nou. So come next season, they are going to be playing at one municipal stadium. That's, I think, not their training ground actually, but a stadium, and where they are looking at expanding the Spotify Camp Nou. When it comes to these decisions, there are quite a lot of people that I blame, because I was seeing a particular statistics. I was reading it last week, and last year Barcelona were talking about their shirt sponsors. Beko was the sponsor of their training kits. That is the name that they have on their training kits. Stanley is the sponsor of their women's team. That is the name they have on their women's team. Rakuten is the sponsor of the men's shirt. That's the name they have on their men's shirts. And when they did an analysis of how much that actually costs, Rakuten was paying about 43 million pounds for the men's team. Beko was playing about, I think, 23 or so for the training kits, and Stanley was paying another 20. So everything was around 77.5 million euros for shirt sponsoring also only. But unfortunately, Spotify have taken all over right now. They are sponsoring both the female, the training kits, and at the end of the day, when they did the calculation, Spotify are paying 70, less than how much Barca was earning when they had 3 different franchises. And at the end of the day, I fought that particular decision that it should have been way higher, or they should have negotiated that, hey, we won't allow you to sponsor the ladies, sponsor our men's shirts and the the training kits alone.
But when you are desperate, you take what is on ground.
I do get it. Another thing that I fought is deciding to change the name of Camp Nou to Spotify Camp Nou. Now, when I was doing my research, I found out that the company that is sponsoring, that has the name in Fenerbahce, for example, their stadium is pronounced Orca Stadium, and that company pays about 5.3 million euros yearly just to have that name, just like the Emirates Stadium. Emirates pay. And of course, in terms of flight and everything, they have some couple of things they do for Arsenal. Etihad pays about 15 million for Manchester City yearly to have Etihad stock on that particular. Barcelona renamed Camp Nou to Spotify Camp Nou. And if a club like Fenerbahce, there's another club in Russia, I've forgotten the name of that club right now. I wish I had my phone beside me. I scribbled it down. Barcelona got 5 million euro from that particular deal, as big as Barcelona is. If a club as small, well, I don't want to say small as Fenerbahce, but a club like Fenerbahce in Europe is getting about 5.3 million for naming their stadium. Spotify, I feel Barcelona should have requested for more from Spotify. And these are the little, you can say desperate, but these are the little mistakes that I think Barcelona and of course Joan Laporta and the board made. You should be making much more from this. Probably if, say, Spotify is paying, let's say, 8 million right now, the 3 million that you are getting in excess, other than the 5 million right now, would be a plus. Probably you use it to show up not qualifying in the Champions League.
Well, in all of these, these issues, especially these off-pitch issues, shouldn't have prevented them from qualifying for the last 16 of the UEFA Champions League, except if the players have not been receiving their wages, perhaps then it will be justified. I will even support them. It will be justified. All right, our under 17, the female under 17, the Flamingos, unfortunately, they bowed out of the under 17 World Cup going on in India. They lost via penalties 6-5 to Colombia, the Colombians. But if you looked at it, in my opinion, the best team won.
Yeah, the best team
the
actually
better
won.
Team, rather.
Yeah, the best, even in this particular instance. It was an underwhelming performance from the Flamingos yesterday, actually. Well, first half, brilliant, but unfortunately, they were not able to make any good use of all the brilliance in the first half. Even in terms of shot on target that we recorded in the first half, I'm not sure we recorded up to 2, despite dominating possession, 60-40 on possession in the first half. Looking at the social media, people have decided to shift focus and there are some things I was able to note in that particular match actually, but I think people decided to just put the blame on Ibrahim Gusso and his presence in India, thinking it was too much pressure for the ladies to handle. Well, I'm not going to talk about that actually. I didn't even want to mention it. But talking about that match yesterday, I think first of all, Jakaye, who happened to be one of the proven goal scorer in that particular team, should have started yesterday. I do not understand the tactics why the coach should have decided to start him from the bench. And the lady who started in her stead, was it Etim Efyong or Ediong, didn't actually write her name in sand safe, not to talk of gold. Unfortunately, I felt like that particular tactical error to a very large extent cost us, because our brilliance in possession, especially in the first half, was just rubbished with no shot on target. Then it got to a particular time in the game, our wing back, the left wing back, what's her name right now? Was it not this following short lady was taken out? And Michael Usani, who happens to be one of the best ladies who's having the trio of the midfield, unfortunately was taken out of the midfield and was dropped to the left back position. That, I think, hindered our formation in that particular midfield, and you will see how Colombia, especially the second half, ran us ragged because our midfield was very loose. Well, some couple of talking points, things to pick up. Omilano, our goalkeeper, was very, very brilliant. Everything Caicedo threw at her, she stopped it, and I would not understand why you brought her out. Someone that is very much in the game, probably very, very convenient. You brought her out and you brought in someone that is a goalkeeping specialist, and that one no fit even carry herself.
Maybe the coach could look at it that
I'm not faulting the coach.
He could consider that in the last game, against Brazil,
the United States of America.
US rather. Sorry, that it worked out. So, and it also experimented that again. It was very unfortunate that at the I was even expecting her to dive at some points, dive to at least save penalty, but
I don't understand how she got that title, financial specialist. Because she was just there for the taking. It's like the Colombians were just, those ladies are sweet penalty takers. You saw the Colombian penalties, even the one that she saved. I feel, well, to be candid, I fought the mentality of giving up in that second half. They totally gave up that, see, let us wait for the penalties. And I think that as a coach, you should at least be psyching them that, hey, you guys, you can still do it. But unfortunately, they just gave up and they felt like, oh, see, we did it against the United States of America, winning via penalties. Let's wait for penalties once again. It will favor us. Unfortunately, it didn't favor us. But like I said, I don't have anything for this particular ladies. Omilano, one shining lights from that particular competition. I hope she, gets promoted to the under 20s, under 23, and maybe she becomes the next Chiamaka Nnadozie. And also the likes of Folorunsho, the likes of Usani, Ajakaye, of course, brilliant ladies. I don't have this, the under 17 tournament. We ought to be catching them young, and the way people are shouting on the pages of the newspaper and the social media, I feel like it's too much.
Yes, the focus is not to win.
Exactly.
Really, it's not a win at all cost tournaments. Age grade football like this is to get budding talents.
Yeah.
For you and for a development of the game. So definitely we've been able to pinpoint some players
exactly
who have really shown themselves that they have great things to do ahead in the future. And now they will be facing Germany. So we came out from the same group, and Germany defeated us in the first game, and so Spain defeated Germany. Well,
the thing is, looking at the game, Spain Germany, I saw some couple of minutes. Because Nigeria had lost out, I wasn't interested in the competition anymore. So I just saw, I think, about 8 minutes or thereabouts. But to be candid, Germany facing them once again. I think with what Omilano did against, even though to a very large extent I'll blame Caicedo, that Colombian striker, because I feel for all her brilliance, being able to slice through the fence and everything, unfortunately, when it comes to being in front of goal, she wasn't clinical enough, despite being the highest goal scorer in that particular competition. I think about 4 goals right now. But we need to work on, I mean, you are trying to keep an high line kind of defense, and your defenders, are very quick to forget themselves, leaving holes for the opponents to pick. This is something that I think we need to take care of against the Germans. But aside that, I think Esther Jakai actually has to start that particular game, arguably one of our best attacker in this particular competition. And with what Umilano, the goalkeeper, actually showed yesterday, I think we have what it takes against Germany to take it to the penalties once again.
To the penalties once again.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be looking forward to but people cannot just give me a condition. That's what I know. Nobody can. Nobody. All right, the Tanzanian under 23 boys, they are in town according to reports, and so as return leg for the under 23 qualifiers will be coming up on Saturday, right here at the Lekon Salami Sports Complex. So the Oyo State government is already putting up machineries in place, rather, to ensure that they mobilize and put up a support structure for the home-based, for the under 23 teams, the dream team.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, really, do we really even need to put machineries in place? Trust the Badon fans, they're actually going to troop out en masse to support any team that is playing at the Abdullah Stadium, especially when it comes to, I mean, we've been longing for a taste of national team football all this while, and we are getting it once. You think we'll let that slip by? But I'm not faulting the decision and of course the effort of the government of Oyo State. Actually, that's a very brilliant one. I'm looking forward to that game also. I mean, talking about South Sudan, they are past 5 matches right now. It was a 1-1 draw the last time we slugged that with them. So on the 26th of September 2022, they played South Sudan, and it was a 3-3 draw at South Sudan home. So they qualified on away goal rule, because initially the first leg of that particular match they drew 0-0. So going to South Sudan to draw 3-0 away goal rule made them qualify. But to just cut the long story short, actually, Tanzania in their past 5 matches happened to have won just 1 match, and that the one match they won, I think it was a friendly against South Sudan back in August 2021. Actually, also they played against Burundi and under 23 in 2021. Also they drew. Then they played South Sudan twice. They 1-0 draw, and of course 1-3 draw, and of course they played Nigeria. Also it was a 1-0 draw. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't even want to be I'm not scared. I think it should be an easy ride for our under 23 team.
Yes, because the hospitality is definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very sure that our fans will definitely troop out to go and watch that, and also a brand new stadium. So that should be that should be one of the motivating factors, definitely. So looking forward to the others on Saturday, right?
Yeah, on Saturday. Exactly.
Okay. Toye Shoibode is my name. Our time is up. You just have to leave.
Yeah, I'm Ajibola Samuel. Always a pleasure doing this. Join us again tomorrow for another exciting edition.